So apparently everyone is changing their profile pictures, and I don't mean in like a click, click, boom, like, is this angle good? I mean, just like random things, landscapes, avatars, characters, just like any random object. And if you're like, why do I care? I have mouths to feed, I have bills to pay. Same. But I think what's most important here is because everyone seems to be saying the same thing. There's an outcry, okay? We're all crying out. There's been this trend of being offline is the new luxury. It's chic to be offline, locking ourselves out of social media, buying devices to lock ourselves out of social media. It's like cool girl to be mysterious and think everyone is your op. Whatever that means.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
No, it's not. It
gets the people going.
But it's seriously so funny because the last 10 to 15 years of social media has told us the complete opposite story. Build your brand, find your niche, market yourself. So why all of a sudden does everyone just want to disappear from offline? Bringing back substance, depth, and character to why we love, share, and buy products. You already know the deal as someone who loves all things beauty, wellness, thrift, and vintage fashion, but most importantly, culturally rich experiences. I was craving like an entire tub of ice cream in the middle of the night on the first day of your period type of craving. Something that felt like the cross between a Substack article and a traditional YouTube video. So I created it. Welcome back to the Mac Edit. My name is Nia Mac. Today we're taking a journey together about profile pictures, reality television, Shonda Rhimes, and hypercapitalism. What all those things have to do with one another? Well, you're gonna stick around to find out. And I think it starts with a very core question. I think as I've been reading, watching, living, learning, eat, pray, loving, and minding my business this week, a very core question kept coming to the back of my mind. Why are we treating content like character development? Why are we treating our lives like content narratives, marketing strategies, rather than a full story? Let's take the trend of having an era. Your flop era, your glow up era, your, that girl era. Taylor Swift had an Eras tour, like Beyonce has Act 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We love an era. We love to categorize and put our seasons into these boxes of an era because it makes us feel better about what's going on in that moment. Oh my God. Oh, it's outside. Praise God. Last month we were all in our flop era. This month we're glowing up. Now we're beauty maxing. Before that it was monk mode. Then it's like a Proverbs 31 woman morning routine. There's just so many eras. It's hard to keep up. Just like give me a second to breathe. Give me a second to breathe. Now, truthfully, I don't think any of these eras are inherently bad, but I think they can be helpful and harmful depending on how you look at it. But I think you have to have a very discerning lens. You have to have some, context, some nuance, and some history behind why some of these things exist. But before we even go there, I think a great place to start is how we watch reality TV and how we watch scripted television shows. Everyone is deep in Love Island right now, and I am deep in Shonda Land. Guilty, because someone who I love truly and dearly has not seen Scandal from the rooter to the tutor, and I haven't watched it in some years, but I think Shonda Rhimes is absolute genius when it comes to screenwriting, so why not go down a memory lane of watching old episodes of Scandal from season 1? Compared to reality TV shows, I wouldn't call myself a full reality TV buff. I definitely have dibbled and dabbled over the years, but there are some people who ride hard and know all the reality TV lore. If that is your afternoon cigarette, if you like a good reality TV show, if you like it, I love it. We're not harming anyone. But reality TV thrives on twists, turns, splashiness, hooks, boom, boom, pow, drama, and constant novelty, truly. Whereas scripted television shows like Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, Grey's Anatomy thrive on the character development, relationships, the storyline. And honestly, something that we're missing a lot of, consistency. And even just the in-between ordinary episodes. Some episodes were much more dynamic than others, but they all played a part in a much stronger thesis and storytelling narrative. So that's why you think about the characters in Shonda Rhimes' show so much. They stick with you. They live in your household. You're talking about them for years and decades to come. And sometimes even the characters themselves supersede the person who's playing them. Like Kerry Washington is forever synonymous with being Olivia Pope. Like Steve Carell is synonymous with Michael Scott in The Office. Ellen Pompeo, Meredith Grey. Jason Sudeikis, Ted Lasso. You get the point. It goes on and on and on. And these characters live in our cultural lexicon forever. The characters themselves have jumped off of the screen and become actual people who we refer to in real life. Mariska Hargitay is Olivia Benson. No one can convince me otherwise. period. And you don't love them because of one singular episode. You watch them over the seasons become themselves. And also, the episodes became a synchronization of your life. It became a marker of time. It became something to look forward to. Now, I think we have a very different view when it comes to social media, when it comes to, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all the things. I think especially when it comes to short form media and short form content, this is where things get a little bit slicey and dicey. And I've even struggled with it myself because it's hard to really tell a full story the way you want to on short form platforms. Some people are really good at it, but others like myself, we need to put our mic on our hand. We need to have a long form YouTube video. We need to really put it all out there and have the context, the conversations, the nuance, and all the things. I think the difference in how we consume and develop reality TV and how we consume and develop scripted shows is so important. It's so reflective of our life. Just you wait. Just you wait. Why are we shrinking back ourselves to short clips, to short episodes, to looking at our lives with a very short runway and short lens without the longevity, without the character development, without the full storyline? Why are we not thinking of our own lives as screenwriters rather than just marketing strategists? I think, in my humble, professional opinion, I think it's because we've confused content for character development. Hyper-capitalism enters the chat, okay? Not just regular capitalism, the hyper-capitalism of it all. And you're like, Nia, what the hell does hyper-capitalism have to do with Grey's Anatomy and my profile picture on Instagram? I'm gonna tell you. Every time you open up your feed, someone's launching something, someone has a new announcement, something's popping off. It's reinvention, it's visibility, right? In a hyper-capitalistic society, we reward the launch of something, business, entrepreneurship, things that really attract attention to not only yourself, but to products and experiences. So that's why social media works the way that it does. You can tell, the algorithm knows when someone's dropping a pregnancy announcement, wedding photos, a new product, a launch. It knows when there's something boom, boom, pow versus just a regular feed, just a regular dump, just a regular, dump truck wagon posted on the Instagram. It knows because there's hyper-capitalistic reward when it comes to that. And we start to take that same lens and view our lives that way. We always think that everything has to have a reinvention. It has to have an era. It has to have a launch, a new episode. However, we haven't even lived a full season of Grey's Anatomy. We haven't even lived a full season. They used to be 22 episode seasons, okay? We're jumping off our own bandwagon when we haven't even launched a pilot. We take our hyper-capitalistic society that rewards, especially online, these things that I mentioned, and we compare it to societies that really apprize and really appreciate apprenticeship, development, and slower identity formation. In my last video, I was talking about the development of personal style and why we struggle with our personal style in the summer. And one thing I even noticed just in the comments and the conversations that all of us are having under that video is because we think the one capture of a summer is the end all be all. It's our one episode, it's our one summer pilot episode to be able to get it right. If we just think about our story in totality, we don't have to get our one summer wardrobe right in this one summer. We don't have to get everything right in one episode. So on the other hand, let's zoom in a little bit on societies and people and culture that really prioritizes craftsmanship. Whether it's Japanese woodworking or sushi chefs that take decades to be able to perfect their craft. Even Italian tailoring, French cuisine, training, classical cooking methods. There's already a built-in assumption that mastery is going to take years. The concept has escaped us because we are chronically online, guilty as charged, that you can master something. It is going to take you time that you feel like you don't have for the mastery of something. We're like our own startup business. We have to run fast, break fast, and just do everything fast, but we will actually burn. But the reality is nobody expects in these more craftsmanship-focused societies that you're going to be a master overnight. Matter of fact, they want you to stay in positions where you can learn and develop and grow. That's why you're not going to be great after one viral moment. You're not going to be great after only a couple months on your job. You're not going to be great after your first semester of college. You're unfortunately not going to understand all of Shonda Land by just watching your first episode of How to Get Away with Murder. You definitely are not going to know anything about Grey's Anatomy just by watching the first 2 episodes. Yet online, online, we often expect our identities, the ones that are so closely intrinsically tied to us, to be fully formed after one aesthetic shift to another or one successful post to another. Because if we look at what gets celebrated today, is it the process of becoming or is it the announcement of becoming? This is why, for example, as of recent trends and conversation online, M.A.C has resurfaced into the conversation of like the whole girl boss situation, but people are becoming tired of, they're calling it emigreedism. They're saying essentially making content around being a founder, being girl boss, you know, doing all these things, but you're not actually developing the mastery, the product, the skill that supports you than being that level of a founder and having that level of expertise to share, which, you know, is subjective. I'm not here to argue this is that and the third, boop to the bop, you know, whatever. If you like it, I love it. But I think there's a point to that. It's because people are really craving, hey, we have a lot of people saying a lot of things or doing a lot of things, shifting their aesthetic, but nobody's actually mastering the things that it takes to get you there. So if you are in a beauty maxing era, it's cool for a couple months, but can you even sustain getting Botox for a couple years? Do you have the coins to do that? I love the trend of analog hobbies, basically things that you need to do offline, pottery, all that stuff, whatever. But again, are you doing it for the sake of being almost, you know we say performative without actually committing to the bit? Like commit fully to trying to master the hobby and enjoy it and do something and have fun with it. Hollywood as an industry has always been amazing, okay, at the art of marketing. And we used to be able to separate ourselves from what was Hollywood culture and what was real culture. The internet, social media has bridged the two. Now we feel like we're in Hollywood having to market ourselves without the budget and the support systems and the wherewithal and the context, and things like that feel more in reach, which is great. I love accessibility. I love access, equity, and inclusion, right? But we also have to have a frame of reference that we don't need everything in our own lives personally to be a premiere, to be a red carpet, to be the opening weekend box office, you know, boom, boom, pow. And let me tell you, I struggle with this personally because I'm someone who values experiences so much. I love a good experience. If you're like, hey, we're going to go do this and it's going to be that and we can get dressed and we can do that, like, I'm there, sign me up. But then you can constantly ride this high or chase this high essentially of always looking for the next thing that's going to be like boom, boom, pow. Okay, a marketer's dream, if you will. And this is where I've been able to shift, and I've talked about this in a couple videos, especially with the books that I've been reading about artistry, about screenwriting. We need to start thinking about things that the writer's room celebrates. A bunch of drafts, a bunch of rewrites, character arcs, character development, quiet collaboration, intrinsic relationships, messiness, stickiness, hundreds of small creative decisions that add up to be the sum of a really great story. Obviously, there's so much value in the marketing, the Hollywood, social media influence, and the eras that we like to jump in and out of, but there is something really beautiful I found lately about the invisible thread of storytelling and story writing, especially when it comes to your own life. So let's just imagine, right? Think about how we experience movies these days. We see the red carpet. Mind you, Zendaya is serving yet another iconic red carpet look, and so is Lupita. Give me $10 and I might shave my hair just like how Lupita did. Honorable mention. But let's refocus. Think about how we experience movies. We watch the red carpets, we see the premieres, we see the red carpet looks, we see the trailers, the interviews, all of the things, right? And then we see the movie, boom, the final product, it's all over. We're like amazing, wonderful, whatever. Next caller. We almost never see the year, 2 years, 6 months of the writer's room, of sitting in a room trying to figure out why a character would make one decision after another. And you can see this in how social media has literally turned us into Hollywood marketers rather than screenwriters. If you just pivoted just a little bit, un poquito, to think about your life more in the lens of a screenwriter rather than marketing, it would do justice, unlock you for how you can develop your personal style, your beauty taste, your wellness, your routines. Anything that you are looking to refine in your life, you can do it a lot better with the lens of a screenwriter rather than just marketing, because marketing has the final product in their hand. You are not a final product. So then naturally, announcements, new eras, launches, those won't feel like where you start. It feels like a natural expression of sharing with the world where you ended. And I feel like that's why a lot of us are reclusing back off of social media, because we feel like if we don't have some major announcement breakthrough situation to share, then we don't have anything to contribute to the social media landscape. And or we don't want people to perceive the fact that we don't have anything going on, or, you know, perceive us in that way because we don't fit into the traditional narratives of what social media wants you to post. Very little of our lives lately have looked like the writer's room. We need to get back to drafting, to storytelling, to connecting the dots on our own character and decision making, not just watching a lot of content about other people's announcements, eras, and final boss products. And this is where I think Shonda Rhimes is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I hope she gets all of her flowers because of Scandal, Bridgerton. All these things were either written by her, produced by Shonda Land. You get it, okay? Absolutely iconic. That girl is in her bag. But what makes her work so memorable, especially as I'm rewatching season 2 of Scandal, wasn't necessarily one viral episode or one viral moment in an episode. We love those things now because we can like repost it on socials. But while these episodes were coming out, the whole body of work really spoke to the moment, really spoke to the characters. Shonda has an incredible skill of building characters over years. Meredith Grey isn't Meredith Grey right off the top in episode 1. She's Meredith Grey after 20 plus seasons of decisions, mistakes, friendships, growth, grief, you name it. Okay, it's all in there. It's all in there. We've become obsessed with the premieres. Life is more like table reads. And this is essentially why the internet teaches us to think like marketers. We all have our marketing degrees since we got our degrees and we think we know everything. But TV tells us to think like writers. And honestly, truly, we've gotten really good at producing content on trailers of our lives, of what we think our lives should look like. But sometimes it's not even a life that feels really connected to us, or it's life that we haven't even lived yet. And I truly feel this deep in my bones, especially when it comes to platforms like YouTube personally, or even just things that have happened in my own life. I think one of the biggest shifts is making YouTube videos, but it's translated so much to real life that I can't even ignore it anymore. People see the 30-minute essays, you see the Mac edits, you see the Mac diary vlogs, you see boom boom pow, rise and grind, you know, shaking my behind in my bathrobe on the internet. What you don't see is the stacks of notebooks that I have, years that I've written in journals, books that I read, articles that I read, enough chronically online content that I have to consume.
And I used to go fishing when I was a little girl. You gotta be real quiet on the creek.
Random voice notes and voice memos that I have to record just to make sure that I get the thoughts off on my head. My notes app is like a gold mine. Or just randomly in the shower when the light bulb moment goes off and I have to hop out and write it down or record it before I forget. The interesting part for me hasn't really just become the upload or even by the time I come down to sit and record it. It's the process to get there. So I think having the awareness that hypercapitalism doesn't just sell you products, it sells you a new version, a new era of life. And there's a science to this. There's a very specific science to this. It's well studied and well researched. It's called the narrative identity theory. We become ourselves through stories, through scenes, through moments, through experiences. I think one of the most beautiful things that I love and come to appreciate about stories is why I love reading books. This is why I love scripted television shows, is because stories need time. Okay, you need time, I need time. We need time to just let things breathe, to let things like take shape, take form. Maybe the thing that you're trying to force, and I catch myself with my severe lack of impatience, is time. And time is not something you can force to happen. It is in a vacuum. It's happening all the time around us. It's a continuum, and we cannot force it to move any faster. We can just do our part by being continuous, by being consistent, and by being creative. Because stories are discovered and brands are manufactured. That's why the best branding, the best products, things like that we love and know and hold near and dear to our hearts, some of my favorite beauty products, some of my favorite clothing items, some of the routines that really stick in my wellness routine, it's because they are a part of my story rather than just a brand narrative that I had to manufacture and pick up. That's why you live and learn. Things just naturally filter themselves out. People filter themselves out. They're not a part of your story. It doesn't have to be for a specific era that you're in. It can be a part of your journey. It can be a part of your fitness journey, your confidence journey, your creative journey. It could be a part of your career journey. All of those things we have to start looking at as more of a big picture and be consistent in the details rather than trying to market the big picture and forget the details. And something I've learned from not only studying Shonda Rhimes and just looking into this screenwriter concept and applying it to my own life is that every writer has really good tools that they just like return back to. And it wouldn't be a Mac edit if I didn't give you the tools, the things, the meaning and character behind the products, okay, that have helped me, that can help you, that we can help each other, okay? Drop below what your favorite things are, but I'm going to show you some of my favorite things to help me get into that really character development mode. These are things that help me lean into the things that I love, but also expand me, and I really just find myself reaching for them, spending more time with them, and products that have genuinely just eat it up, okay? They're my favorites. I'm not even going to say too much. You already know a physical journal is top of the list. If you want to lean into not only just having better habits, better mental health, better everything, you need to have a physical journal. Get it off your notes app, get it off your phone. Analog hobbies, one of them is writing. You can't be a writer without a journal. You can't be a writer without knowing how to write. And this is a message for somebody out there. Don't feel like when you are writing in your journal or when you are writing down something that it has to be this perfect final boss product, or even when you are starting out something that it has to make sense to anyone. You can literally just jot down random things and string it all together later, polish it. Don't leave it unpolished. That is the beauty of developing stories. I have an album in my phone that is called Summer 26 on film because I've been reaching for my film cameras so much. And I mean that in the sense of not just taking photos on my phone, which we do great of, or my digital camera. I have like so many different cameras at this point so that I can just snap them. There's no screen. I don't even have time to like, oh my God, does it look this way? Do I look this way? Is it, swing, suck, poke? Like, am I snatched? No. No. There's no time for that when you have a film camera. It really just captures the essence of the moment. And I think that's why we love to look back at old photo albums, old pictures, old videos, that nostalgia. I know I love a nostalgic tip. It really just captured the essence of the moment without being forced or posed. So capturing the moment authentically is going to be such a good way to not only tell the story, but capture the story and live more in the moment. So if you feel like your summer needs to be captured better and you don't have the pictures to say for it, and you're like, wait a minute, I want to capture things really in a more intentional, better manner, go ahead and pick you up a film camera. This is literally just a Fuji one that you can get at like the drugstore. This yellow one is actually one I got as a birthday present from my girl Jazz. It's Camp Snap. It's one of those like digital film cameras. So you can just like import the pictures right off of the camera directly to a phone, laptop, whatever. So this is great for like, okay, I can capture it, but I can still get it off quick, and you can send everybody the pictures when they're standing around like, girl, do you got the pictures? You can send it to me. You can be like, wait, I gotta wait till I get home, whatever. Take your time, slow down. Your Instagram story, it's gonna be there. Savor the moment with the pictures. And you have to set the mood. I'm gonna post a vlog of all the candles that I got on sale from Brooklyn Candle Studios, one of my favorite candles. I found one of theirs a long time ago, and it was in the Bali scent, and that's where I went on my honeymoon. So I was like, you're coming home with me. They smell amazing. They burn really well and evenly. This one I got is in lavender haze, and even you can just smell it booming out of the box. I love a good candle no matter what time of year it is, summer, fall, winter, you name it. I will have a candle, I will have a scent, I will have a vibe, because it really just helps you to anchor the moment. Keeping with scents, not just for your home, you on your body gotta smell good. Okay, scent that I've been genuinely surprised I've been reaching for, it's this Amazing Grace Eau de Parfum Intense from Philosophy. I have been thoroughly surprised by this. It smells like, a fresh baby in the summertime.
Stay with me now.
Yeah, like baby powder, air, sea salt water, and just a nice clean freshness. And I love this for the summertime. I picked it up as like a little sample, and I've been pleasantly surprised. I've been like reaching for it over and over again. It wears perfectly outside. That is so key. It wears perfectly outside. You don't walk out there and it clashes with what's going on. You smell like a breath of fresh air walking through the air. Period. I ride at dawn over Danessa Myricks beauty products, okay? Don't even get me started. I'll go on a tangent. But again, another sample that I wanted to try before I committed to the full bit. This is the 10 out of 10 Barrier Booster Cream. this is amazing. All you need is a little bit, un poquito, and it makes your skin so plump and juicy, and is another great prep step, but also even just like a basic skincare kind of moment. Absolutely love this, especially if you feel like, in the summertime, even though it's humid here in New York and, the sun is out, all the things, you still want to make sure you're moisturizing, have really plump products going on to your skin, but it's not greasy, it's not heavy, it does not clog your pores. Okay, acne girls, we know. I've already shared with you guys how much I struggled and struggle with the acne. This is not triggered at all, I've found, okay? And on the MAC edit, meaning and character, every good writer, storyteller, you have to read books, okay? I read a statistic the other day that literally said, America,
This is what I'm talking about, America!
we have to do better. It said that the average American doesn't read at least one book a year. Can't have that. I just finished this book that I picked up maybe like a week or two ago from a book bar in Manhattan. This is called Tokyo Ueno, I believe that's how you say it, Station. Tokyo Ueno Station by Miri. And this book is really interesting. I would say it's more of a palate cleanser until it's not. It's a short read. It's like under 200 pages, but just to give you the overall premise of the book, essentially it's about a man, not in a morbid way, but about a man who has died. And you're walking back through his life in different seasons, different eras, if you will, and kind of gathering bits and pieces of different seasons and stories in his life that all come together for the culmination of it all. And then his personal life, his work life, kind of his inner workings of his thought process throughout it all, and how he ends up where he does, and ultimately leading to his death. And again, it's not in a very like morbid death grieving kind of way. It's really just a quick reflective hitting piece on the intimate details of your story from the perspective of someone who's looking back on their own life after they're no longer here. So I think that's really interesting, and I think it very much ties into what we're talking about, because we tend to do this from a branding, a marketing, a storytelling, or lack thereof perspective, where we start at the end and then try to tell the story backwards. Meanwhile, we're writing it as we speak. So don't forget to continue to write your story. Don't forget to continue to read some books. This was a interesting read. And last but certainly not least, you always got to set the scene with some music. I love a physical vinyl. I love a physical record to put a record on. This is an album by a group called Khruangbin. I absolutely love their music. If you're into very jazzy, methodical, melodic music, Khruangbin, you can just put their music on when you're on like a walk and the breeze is blowing through your hair. You don't want anything too overstimulating. You want something that's really just going to allow you to think, to breathe, to just be in the moment and not really overtake the moment. Khruangbin music is perfect for that. I love. And then for movement, some things that made me feel really good and really just juicy, hot, spicy, and feel good when I'm in the gym. This brand gets a little bit of shade, it gets a little bit of tea, it gets a little bit of heat sometimes, but I really do stan the Honor Active, specifically the soft motion line. The soft motion pants and the soft motion line of products I think are absolutely fan-friggin-tastic. It makes you feel so good when you go to the gym. When I got my first piece of soft motion material, I was a little bit surprised. I thought it was going to be a little bit of a thicker material, but now that I've moved in it, lived in it, I've had like a soft motion piece for a couple months and gone through different seasons with it, I'm actually glad it's not thicker, and I think it does a really good job of being that in-between of like activewear without it being very, oh, you're going to the gym right now. Like you could be going between the gym to Pilates to whatever kind of workout, but also still run into the grocery store, do something after, grab a coffee. So those have been my favorite things that have really made me feel really connected with just storytelling, feeling my best. Products that don't necessarily make me feel like I have to be a different person or that you should be super influenced to go out and buy. These are things that I've found to like, love, worth the money, overall helped me align in my beauty, wellness, and in my fashion. So I say all of this to say, maybe you don't need another rebrand. You don't need an era. Maybe you're not even necessarily in a flop era, okay? I feel like stop claiming it. Stop claiming that you're in a flop era. You're not in a flop era. You're just writing the story, okay? You need to keep writing the story. You need to keep working. You need to keep believing. You need to keep leaning into products and routines and things that are going to help you stay the course. So just like Shonda Rhimes, just like on Scandal, on Grey's Anatomy, on The Office, keep going. There's a really important marker when it comes to 100 episodes, and you're like, what does 100 episodes have to do with anything? It's because that's when you get to the point of what's called syndication, essentially when the show pays for itself and then some. Like it's such a big show. There's there's so many episodes that the money just starts to fall in. But it's more than the money. I think it really marks a sense of it has become a cultural staple and icon. So many shows that our parents knew and loved, that we know and love, that our children eventually will know and love, they're long-standing storylines and works of art. You need to start thinking of your life and as your fashion, your beauty, your wellness routine, as your mindset as long-standing works of art rather than just viral moments. You have too much meaning and character to stay in your flop era to like keep rebranding every 5 seconds. Just remember that your development, your character development is usually so slow that you don't even notice it's happening, but please trust me and believe me that it is happening. And that's why I found the profile picture trend, like changing it to just inanimate objects, so interesting, because again, it shows the flip in how we used to be like, no, my profile picture is so important, and now people are trying to make it so unimportant. So I don't think it's necessarily that we're trying to fully disappear. Maybe we might be, poof, be gone, but I think it's more so that we're tired of trying to market ourselves and trying to be this best brand architect when sometimes that's not even what it's called for. Because you don't really remember a television show for one perfect episode. You remember the characters, you remember the storyline, you remember how it made you feel, you remember how it made you think. So maybe it is definitely time to stop asking, okay, what's going to be my next era? What's going to be my next brand? What's going to be my next drop? And a little bit more time, un poquito, on what kind of character am I building? What kind of story am I telling? How am I using my life in that way? At the end of the day, in the good words of my good sis Glorilla, the day gotta end. But at the end of the day, the most meaningful lives, things, products aren't built through just amazing launches. They're built through amazing storytelling. One ordinary episode at a time. I love you so much. Catch you on the next episode of the Mac Edit. Bye.